Is democracy under threat because we take democracy for granted?
Nigel.cecil, calling things out.
Hello Jakabatis, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Nigel.cecil, entertainment entrepreneur, and of course, our regular viewers, our fair-minded and equitable friends know that whenever I claim to be an entertainment entrepreneur, my good friend Hilary insists I also add somewhat of a legend in my own lunchtime. Jakabatis. When we look at these videos, we try to cover on behalf of our fair-minded and equitable friends topics they bring to our attention with their views, opinions, and say, Nigel, many of us are engaged in showbiz, it's our profession, and we're also members of Equity. Equity, the trade union for professional actors, variety, entertainers and other creatives across the United Kingdom. And some of you may be aware of a cancel culture. And if we put our head above the parapet and say something that others might say, oh, you shouldn't be saying that, it doesn't relate to the agenda, the ideology we're promoting. So on their behalf, we don't care at our age, do we, Hilary? No, come and cancel us. We were cancelled years ago. So the topic they've raised, given what's going on in the world and in our country, they've said, Nigel, do you think that democracy is under threat? And in fact, because it's the United Kingdom, we take democracy for granted. It couldn't possibly happen here, could it, that democracy? Then we think about showbiz. And you think, is there a selective democracy? In other words, it looks as though everything's democratic, but when, try and get involved. And you can't really because, someone has safe speeches in one particular trade union. Safe. It's only safe to those who, are welcome. Everyone's welcome selectively. So how can we get this idea of, do we take democracy for granted and it can't possibly happen here? In an alter ego some years ago, and many of you will know that when it comes to media communication, I always say music is the universal language of communication. And if we look at the way celebrity singers, pop stars relate to their audiences, it suddenly gives us a very simple idea of what should motivate us when we try to communicate. Because think about it. And when we do think about it, how they communicate, some years ago, under the auspices of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, in an alter ego, I was going around the Baltic states. Baltic states who were occupied by the Soviet Union. And, from 87 to 91, there was the singing revolution. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And when you went to those countries and discussed about communication and how to get your message across, you suddenly realised that, they can't take democracy for granted. Even now, when you look at the Baltic states, we say, they don't take democracy for granted because they can recall, in fact, in Lithuania, one thing that sticks in my mind, I was discussing with some of the movers and shakers there various topics about communication, and we realised the singing revolution when they came together, thousands of them, and in all those Baltic states, they blocked the parliaments. They sang. Singing, whatever your social and economic background, may unite you. And there was one person I met there, sticks in my mind, was Subutis. Subutis was a real character. In Lithuania, he'd been the former chief prosecutor for the Lithuanian Soviet Republic. But when it came to the singing revolution, they were there with all their fellow countrymen. And they were there, singing. And they said, when you think about it, taking democracy for granted, and we're singing, and the Russian tanks are pointing their guns at you. And you don't know what's going to happen next. But you're all united in song. And you're singing for your freedom, not taking democracy for granted. And one moment in time, we're singing. And suddenly, we've no idea what happened at the time, but it happened. The Russian tanks lowered their guns and they turned away. And we then knew the Lithuanian nation had now got back their independence, Estonia and Latvia, and it's only a few decades ago. We don't take democracy for granted. One of the things we always say when we do these videos, we like a little bit of fun as well, because even in the most darkest days, a sense of hope, a sense of, well, life and fun, you can spark. And Seimas, I said, well, of course, the thing is, when I come here and chat with you, I've no hidden agenda. I can say what I think and what I see and what I observe because, well, I'm leaving your country in a few days, so I'm totally independent. Seimas looked at me and said, leaving our country? You have to get past my border police first. And we had a good laugh about it. But that's because deep down they know you can't take democracy for granted. So when we look at the United Kingdom, when we look at equity, selective democracy, those at the top with an ideology look down on everyone else and say, well, this is for your own good, it's for your welfare, it's for your security. Let's have more cameras throughout the United Kingdom, it will help us. Let's, well, have a backdoor, well, make Apple open because, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you've nothing to fear, have you, Hillary? Are we taking democracy for granted? Is that British tradition of, well, couldn't possibly happen here, mean that we're sleepwalking into those at the top, looking down on us, top down, and looking instead of the people, the grassroots, saying it's from the grassroots upwards. So what do you think? In your organisation, your association, your club even, are you in danger of taking democracy for granted? Please let me know what you think by once again getting in touch with this email address, because we like to reflect your comments, views and opinions on your behalf. Join us again. Thank you from Hillary and thank you from moi. Please hit the subscribe button and join us again, because together every viewer helps. Thank you.